It is Tuesday, July the 19th. How dare me? 2016 WWE Draft Night. I'm Adam Martin of Wrestleview.com. We're on Facebook Live, everybody. It's good to be here. I need to turn myself down a little bit. I am a loud boy tonight. There we go. I'm here with Doug Lackey of Wrestleview.com. Doug, say hi as well.
Hi, we're starting it off with a bang. We don't even know what day it is.
We don't even know what day it is. I thought it was June. I don't know why I thought it was June. But
not even what month it is or whatnot.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We'll let people file in. I was reading an article that you should probably give people a good 5-minute buffer, but I saw everybody complaining about that with the Cruiserweight Classic when they did a little preview of it, where they were taping the show on like a Wednesday, but they did like the first opening live for free. And they did this like 20-30 minute feed of the logo just spinning, and everybody was complaining in the comments. They're like, "Oh, how dare you put this all in here and make me sit here and watch 23 minutes of the logo." So I'm trying to be mindful of that a little bit, but we'll let people file in. To answer a couple questions, I know we had some questions last night when we did the test. The first one is there going to be an audio version of this? Yes, we're gonna centrally locate everything on the same feed that we use for the Trey and Adam show. So if you already subscribe to that RSS feed through iTunes or through SoundCloud, or you have the RSS feed added to any kind of a player, the audio is going to go there. We'll just also have a video version of the podcast as well. So there'll be a multitude of ways you can take in the show. But we had really good response last night, Doug. We did like a 30-minute test or something, and I was looking at the numbers throughout the day, and we just did like a test with no advertising. So hopefully tonight with a little advertising, it's going to help. And we're going to be putting this on Wrestleview.com as well as we're streaming live. So I should also mention, as we're starting this, Jason Amico is covering the second part of the draft. They're calling it the Draft Center Live results. I'll put it up on the screen here, so you can kind of see. You can see Doug in the corner, by the way, on my Skype.
Hi.
you're like picture in picture. I didn't even plan that. Did you get the picture in picture tonight, by the way? With how many times did they do that?
I think they only did it like maybe 2 or 3 times. That was like the NASCAR car crash watch.
Okay.
That's what it seemed like to me.
I was watching. I've dropped satellite and cable, so I have Sling TV through Roku.
Okay.
And I didn't see it. They were like, "Oh, check it out," and I didn't see it. So I didn't.
Well, I got the Dish network, and it did it for it until it went to local commercials, and then just took up the whole screen.
Okay,
so.
I see what you're doing. Okay. So I was going to click over and see thus far. You were mentioning some of them to me right now.
Yeah.
What are some of the newer ones? Because maybe I need a refresh. We'll do a little.
Well, let's start off with a refresher. Let's just.
Oh, now I'm seeing some people coming in. Okay, never mind. Should we do the people that have already been picked, and then we'll go.
Let's go ahead and go over the people who have already been picked.
Okay.
We can do that.
Let's see. Okay, I got it up on the screen, but if you want to talk about them, by all means, I can do it, or you can do it. It's up to you.
You go ahead and fill in. I'm going to bring them up on my bigger screen.
So I guess the first 2 draft picks, the first big ones, were Seth Rollins and Dean Ambrose. So not a huge surprise there. They were probably going to do one of those 2 guys. It was kind of weird though, because Raw was going to get more picks than SmackDown. So there was a heavy SmackDown, or there was a heavy Raw, and then they would go to SmackDown, and then Raw would get like 1 or 2, and then they go back to SmackDown. It was just kind of like a back and forth situation. So let's just go with what Raw got. Raw got Seth Rollins. They got the women's champion Charlotte, NXT's Finn Balor or Baylor. I always mispronounce that, so I don't care.
George, just call him George.
Finn George. Roman Reigns. Brock Lesnar, who we need to talk about tonight, because unfortunately Brock Lesnar is again not having a very good day.
He's not.
Got popped again by USADA, so we'll talk about that. The tag team champions, the New Day, as a unit. It wasn't just like 2 of them. It was Big E, Kofi, and Woods. So all 3 together. Sami Zayn, Sasha Banks, Chris Jericho, Rusev, the United States champion with Lana, Kevin Owens, Enzo and Big Cass, the Club, the Big Show, NXT women's. Well, she's not a champion yet. I was going to call her a champion. How dare me? Nia Jax, Neville, Cesaro, and Sheamus. So that's all, everybody for Raw. Yeah. And you guys can follow along here as I look at the list. And
I'll look at SmackDown. We got WWE Champ Dean Ambrose, AJ Styles, John Cena, Randy Orton, Bray Wyatt, Becky Lynch, Intercontinental Champ The Miz with Maurice, Baron Corbin, American Alpha from NXT, Dolph Ziggler, Natalia, and Alberto Del Rio.
And as we started the show, Jason is updating the picks that are coming in. So the Golden Truth and Titus O'Neil and Paige all going to Raw. And it looks like the Usos and the Demon, I like that they call him Demon Kane.
It's Demon Kane. We had to make sure it was the right one.
So we're pretty much up to date on all that stuff as we approach that. So I did, and I'll click over and I'll check through here. Actually, also while I'm thinking about it, I should share what we're doing to the Trey and Adam Facebook page, because that might be a little important to do.
And don't mind me if you see me looking to the side, because that's where my TV is mounted with the network. So, and it's showing Actually, I got some more. Damn it, they were showing the crawl for new picks that they had made. So the website is not necessarily up to date. When I'm talking website, I mean WWE.com. But there have been some other picks. And it looks like they have not updated it on their site yet.
Oh, it's not been updated on the website. Okay, because they are doing this on... I should do that as well. I should bring that up on the network here while I'm thinking about it, because I have everything... let me get this going here. I love Roku, by the way. If you're looking at cutting the cord, man... I remember you always told me about it. And,
Roku is fantastic.
It is good. I'm going to make sure the audio's down. So it's called the WWE Draft Center Live, or whatever they're calling it. So it's... whatever it is. So, by the way, really quick, thank you to Jason Amico for covering this for us live, because we have... it's been a while since we've had one of these nights where there's just a ton going on. That's like usually pay-per-view nights. Some of these big nights are like this, but it's been a while since we've had... It's been, how many years since they've done a draft? Like 3 years at least?
Yeah, it's been a good 3 years. Yeah.
And I did... I reposted our coverage of the 2011 one that we did, which was a blast. It was weird. I went back, I listened to a little bit. It was kind of weird to just hear the old Wrestleview radio gang. But...
Good times.
Was there... And I was going to mention I did a poll on the Wrestleview Twitter, at Wrestleview. Give us a follow if you don't already. And I asked, what'd you think of the televised picks? I didn't say anything about the other draft picks. I gave 3 options, Doug. I said thumbs up, thumbs in the middle, thumbs down. And you can probably guess what... people are a little cranky these days, but so far...
Of course they are.
The thumbs down is winning with 38%, thumbs in the middle is 33%, and thumbs up is 29%. So it's
because I didn't hear Nakamura's name, that's why.
Is that what it was, maybe? That there was...
I didn't hear Nakamura. I need me some Nakamura.
Well, they said there was, up to 6 NXT talents would be eligible tonight?
They would have 6 NXT talents would be drafted through this thing. Whether you want to say it's 3 or 4 so far, we're not sure, but everyone needs to... You're not going to say Nakamura. He's not going to get drafted. Chill out.
Yeah, he
isn't. He's not going to get drafted. Okay, stop it.
They how many was their total? I'm trying to go back and look at. I'm doing
total. They had 6 rounds, so you had 18 picks for Raw, 12 for SmackDown.
So NXT
overall 30 names mentioned.
NXT picked up.
Everyone can get a boner over.
NXT picked up Finn. They picked up Nia Jax. They picked up American Alpha, and that was it. Okay, so people were. That's technically 4. If you count the tag team.
4, I don't know.
But they were counting tag teams. I was talking to Jason about this. They were counting tag teams as one pick, though. So they weren't counting them as a whole pick, though. So I was like, okay, that kind of makes sense. They have this very sports centery. I wish I could. Well, I don't want to. Never mind. That would have been bad. I was like, I wish I could share my network screen. That would be a terrible idea.
Yeah, that's not a very good idea. Actually,
No.
Don't mind me, I'm trying to fast forward through my footage of WWE Network to try to get us up to date, actually on the draft, because there have been some picks.
I see Titus talking right now. Well, I was going to flip over to Jason's coverage here and see if anything new has come through.
Let me see it. Well, we already know that Sheamus was picked. Okay, Golden Truth to Raw, Usos to SmackDown, Titus O'Neil to Raw, Kane to SmackDown, Paige to Raw, Darren Young and Bob Backlund to Raw, Kalisto to SmackDown, Sin Cara's going to Raw, Naomi's going to SmackDown, and Jack Swagger is going to Raw. The Ascension is going to SmackDown Live. Dear God, they've got jobs still. Thank goodness. So there you go.
And we'll look at some of these as they pile in, because it looks like it's going to be a total of 60, according to what Jason's putting here on Wrestleview. Was there anything during the televised show where you were like, I don't know about that one, where maybe they went with a pick that you weren't super jacked about?
Well, when it comes to the picks and all, I'm not like most of the people that are on the internets, like I was talking about before, where they just get a boner when you say their name. You know, especially everyone's having a cow right now because Nakamura's name hasn't been mentioned. Well, I'm going to have to get over it. I guess I was surprised that Natalya was given more airtime. I did not. I mean, yeah, I guess I'm just a horrible person, but I can think of other women to mention their name, to consider them as an important asset to the show that you're wanting to do and get people fired up. Natalya is not one of them, but I can understand the program that they're doing with her and Becky Lynch, and that's going to be SmackDown centric. So yeah, I can understand that one. But all in all, I mean, I wasn't really looking at the draft and just going, wow, this is really going to hurt SmackDown's playoff chances coming up next season. So, I mean, all in all, it was really fun to watch. I really like how they set this up with the dueling podiums on either side. Mm-hmm. And, you know, like Shane ripping up his card when Enzo and Cass were named to Raw. You know, it made for great dialogue back and forth, except for Stephanie. Stephanie forgot to take her Adderall today.
She's very excited.
She was way too excited.
She was doing a lot of impressions of, like, she did Sasha Banks's little, I can't even do it. I just tried to do it.
The little sway.
Yeah, she did that, and then she was singing Big Show's theme song, and she was having, I guess she was having fun. I shouldn't be, you know, super negative about it.
No, I'm not super negative about it, but it was a little bit annoying. It got a little annoying.
I was surprised by Nia Jax, because, not that I think, okay, here's the thing about her. I think she has a lot of upside. I think she has a lot of potential. I just thought a little too soon, maybe. And I don't want to become a super snarky internet guy here, but I think, you know, there was maybe some other people in NXT that could have been a little more suitable, unless they just really wanted to get some more female talent on the main roster, which I totally get. They're trying to boost that up. I know everyone was like freaking out because they didn't do Bayley, but I'm pretty sure she's going to be Sasha's mystery tag team partner on Sunday, so I'm not too concerned about that one. I know that was something that I saw expressed on Twitter of like, oh, they're screwing Bayley again. If she's not the tag team partner this Sunday and she doesn't get drafted, yeah, you might have a little bit of a point there, just a little bit.
No, there's no point made. None at all.
Don't you think she deserves to be called up, though, at this point? Because she's been down there for a while. She's been doing her thing. She's the female John Cena. I think it's time to let's get that thing up to Raw or SmackDown. I think it's time to do that.
Not yet. I'm one of those. I'm one of those, like, you know, no, not yet. And I'm not saying she's not ready for it. I guess when you first think about Nia Jax, there is a slot for her right now. She fills a slot perfectly with the females. Okay, there's no one else that has her look. There's no one else that has her demeanor. She fits perfectly. Okay, Bayley, on the other hand, you've got to combat with other baby faces that you have right now. You're trying to build Sasha right now. She hasn't really. Let's go and face facts. It's right now tepid with her right now, and I don't know if Charlotte's to blame for that, Sasha's to blame for that, or Dana Brooke's to blame for that. Or is booking to blame for that with how they've been doing the shows and they've been concentrating on the draft for so long? But Nia Jax fits perfectly into this entire roster. You can start her off anywhere. With Bayley, she has so much fanfare to follow her, it quells anything that you have been trying to accomplish with any other female that you have on that roster. So, no, now is not the time. If you want to have Bayley be the mystery partner, man, have it be a one-time thing, but I just don't think it's the time right now for Bayley to come in.
Okay.
I hope I'm wrong. I love being wrong, okay, but I just don't feel secure and comfortable with that.
I get the babyface. I think that's a good point to make. It's a little babyface heavy maybe with the female. So, And it looks like we're going to have, based on, I'm going back. I'm sorry, I keep going back. Mark Henry looks like he just got drafted to Raw.
And we got our next NXT pick.
Oh, Alexa Bliss from NXT. Interesting.
I absolutely approve.
That's a good one.
Absolutely approve.
So it looks like Raw gets the women's championship, but there's also some female talent going to SmackDown. So maybe there will be a women's title. Maybe there won't be. I know there was some confusion with, the U.S. title staying on Raw and the Intercontinental title going to SmackDown, but the WWE Championship going to SmackDown, the Tag Team Champions going to Raw. So what happens at the Tag Team division? But it seems like a lot of tag teams got brought to Raw, though. So maybe Raw is going to be tag team cruiserweight focused, maybe, and SmackDown's going to be what? I don't know.
No, SmackDown is going to be your traditional wrestling program.
Okay.
And when I mean traditional, I mean we're talking you have your world champion, you have your intercontinental champion, and that's about it. I mean, think of WWE circa mid-90s, something like that. Raw is going to be, I mean, you're going to have the divas, you're going to have the divas, you're going to have the women there, you're going to have the little critters with their cruiserweight stuff going on, you're going to have the tag team stuff going on. The only problem is on Raw, I am so afraid it's not going to be storyline centric. If you kind of catch my drift here.
In what way?
You're going to have little critters and cruiserweights doing stuff for no reason whatsoever.
Okay.
You're going to have women fighting over the title, and that's about it. Just the title, nothing else to be really angry about. You're going to have a lot of tag teams and just having a lot of fun, rambunctious stuff with the New Day, Enzo and Cass being there. Lots of fun, happy stuff going on. But apart from that, if you notice with some of the picks that they took, the only people that they took right now that you could see were viable programs is Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns. That's about it. There's not a whole lot of anything else. When you look at SmackDown's roster and who they picked, the championships that they're going to center around, there is a lot more traditionally that they can do on that side. And when I say that, some people will say, well, God, that sounds boring. Well, yeah, it's kind of going to be the same old WWE so predictable. That's what's going to be happening on SmackDown. Raw is trying to change things up a little bit, and this is incredibly dramatic change because we keep hearing the ratings are down and people are turning off after the second hour. Well, this is Raw's booster shot, is doing this incredible flip in rosters, is what they're doing. I also really think with this draft that they're doing, then you're seeing these 60 picks. If you're seeing names that are not picked, they're ship them to NXT. I mean, NXT is going to be kind of slim pickings after this going on, and all the people that they've already taken from there after WrestleMania. So ship who you didn't draft, ship them to NXT. That gives that another booster shot. So this whole switching around and the draft is really neat, but I really hope that people just don't get too bonkers into there's going to be 2 world champions and it's going to be just like how it was with the brand extension before. This is completely different. So we'll just see how it goes. But that's just my mindset, is that Raw is going to be something completely different, that it's going to be a little harder to grasp, where SmackDown is going to be, if you just want traditional WWE style stuff, that's where you go.
Let's take a look at the board again, and this is over on Wrestleview.com. Jason Amico covering this live for us. I think we left off at the Ascension, so they're going to SmackDown. The Dudley Boys going to Raw. Zack Ryder going to SmackDown. Summer Rae goes to Raw. Apollo Crews goes to SmackDown. Mark Henry gets shipped to Raw, and we just mentioned NXT star Alexa Bliss going to SmackDown. So they're still continuing. I would assume this is going to go till the top of the hour. So at 11 Eastern, 10 Central, they'll be wrapping this thing up, I would assume. I think it's an hour special. I don't know. It's the network, so they can kind of, they can do whatever the hell they want. But this little Sports Center presentation that they have. I'm also going to push people to. I'm trying to watch the chat here, Doug, as we go through. Mm-hmm. It's a little hard to keep up with on Facebook, unfortunately, but I saw some people saying, I can't believe they didn't do the Bayley thing. I saw some people saying, I get your point, Doug. There was a lot of people looks like they're excited about Alexa Bliss going to SmackDown. So I was mentioning Nia Jax as the one earlier as kind of my surprise as part of the televised one, and I'm looking at some of the other picks. It was kind of I guess we could talk about this a little bit since we mentioned it earlier. It was kind of like poor timing. Not that he wasn't there or anything, but to have the Brock Lesnar announcement that he's going to be part of Raw, and literally hours after it was revealed that he got popped a second time by USADA, the anti-doping agency, which does all the drug testing for the UFC. He was flagged for the same substance that he got flagged for last week. It was last Friday, I think, is when all that broke. And it was interesting, too, because I immediately reached out to the WWE on Friday, kind of going like, okay, where do we sit here with Brock, or what's the situation? And the statement I got back, which is the statement that I'm sure other people read on other wrestling websites, was that he last performed for us at WrestleMania, and he is going to be performing once again at SummerSlam. That was it. Yeah. No comment about the drug test failure, although it was a potential, and I know I have to use the words potential because he does have the right to contest these things. However, when you pop for a second time for the same substance again, you're kind of Fucksville, I think. And this is the same situation John Jones is in, where he could be facing up to 2 years. Unless somehow Brock gets out of this, he's out for 2 years, which means he's not fighting again. He just turned 39. So
yeah, he was like 38 or 39.
I think he just turned 39. So I don't think Brock's fighting again in the UFC. And I was having interesting conversations with people about this, because people that knew Brock kind of had that like Nicolas Cage, you don't say, kind of reaction to. I mean, I noticed in the MMA community, it was like, what a shock, Brock Lesnar got popped for drugs. And then there was a story that came out. I don't know if you heard this story or not, but there was somebody that was on his training camp, his training camp, his team, who said that Brock suffered from a disease. I think it was called RAD or RAD, or I forget what the terminology is for it, but it involves hyperventilating. And he was doing these hill sprints with kettlebell workouts, and I guess he started to hyperventilate. So he took what you would take for asthma, basically to treat asthma. Yeah. And there's a chemical obviously in that, but people were saying, well, that's what he got popped for. So if that's the case, we'll find out pretty soon here if that's really what happened or not. But I don't know, man. He's one of those dudes where you've always looked at him and he's never really passed the sniff test. But I don't think wrestling fans have really cared too much about steroids. But it's a big focus in the world of mixed martial arts because it's a sport. You don't want someone to have an advantage over somebody else. Although I've also heard people in that community say, let's just have a bunch of freak show fights of guys on TRT and steroids, and let's see who the better man is. So there's different opinions, but I think there was obviously a genuine effort to clean up that sport. That was one of the things that George St. Pierre complained about, was that everybody was on steroids, and Nate Diaz joked about that everybody's on steroids. Yeah. So it's just interesting timing that tonight they announced Brock is going to be on Raw exclusively, literally hours after the news broke that he popped once again. So we'll see how this one. It doesn't look like it's going to turn out too well for Brock, unfortunately.
Well, in MMA worlds, no.
In the MMA world, yes, yeah, but in wrestling he'll be fine. But here's I guess here's my other question too, and I was talking to a bunch of people this week about this. Is there a double standard for these part-time guys? Are they getting tested the same way as a full-time talent? Like a Roman Reigns is obviously getting tested full-time and popped. If their contention, Doug, is that he's a performer that they use when they need him because he commits to a certain amount of dates, is he considered a full-time independent contractor with them, or a performer? The way they worded the statement was that he performed for them in April and hasn't ever since, which is true. But it's almost as if they say nothing in between the month of April and August, he could do no wrong, essentially, and come back and slide right back in and everything's fine. Do you have an issue with that from a company that really emphasized this wellness policy after Eddie Guerrero died and really tried to clean things up? Or is it just business as usual for them?
Well, first off, we don't know if USADA's principles and USADA's methods of drug testing are the same as the WWE's wellness policy.
I can 100% tell you it's not. It's USADA is way more strict than USADA. Basically shows up and like they'll show up at your house, Doug, and tell you to pee in a cup without you knowing they're going to show up. They have to be aware of your
right.
schedule, kind of a thing.
Exactly. So that's what I think that's number one we got to be thinking about is, we're talking about two completely different policies here and two completely different organizations here. And of course, entertainment and sports, where one is taken way more seriously than the other when it comes to what you put in your body. Okay. It really, as long as that is made clear to the public, I don't see any problem with this. The other thing too is, first off, number one, there's no mention of it on WWE television what he's doing. So, and they aren't going to touch that with a 20-foot pole. And furthermore, I don't really see how anything that's happening in the world of MMA that he has been stricken for with whatever the heck it was that he took, that he got dinged on, that's causing the other guy to want to take his money because he beat him in a fight and apparently he thinks that he cheated, whatever. I think from what we're talking about right now and what's going on in this and Brock Lesnar being drafted, it's completely irrelevant and it has nothing to do with what's going on. If you're finding wrestling sites or any kind of news outlets that are trying to combine these two together, no, just don't pay attention to them. No, they don't know the differences between the two. Is basically what I'm trying to say.
I guess I'm gonna push back on this one a little bit. I'm gonna disagree because I do think it's relevant. I do think it's actually quite relevant that it was a pretty big story on Friday. The Associated Press picked it up.
Sure.
And he had to give a comment to the Associated Press basically saying, I'm going to get to the bottom of this. That was the first pop. And then the second one happened today. And then hours later, he's drafted to, yes, a scripted show called Monday Night Raw as a scripted performer. But that company that does the scripting has its own wellness policy. And did he fail that wellness policy at some point and they didn't share that information with us? I mean, they're supposed to share that information with us.
Well,
I didn't get into
not if they're doing the same testing that USADA is. I mean, they're two completely different things.
It's different testing, and I guess maybe the thing is the wool had been kind of pulled over some of our eyes. I hate to use a cliche line like that, but I think the narrative from the WWE for the last, well, it's been 10 years. It's 2016. It's been 10 years now since Eddie Guerrero passed away. That a little over 10 years now. That we want to make a genuine effort to clean this up. We want to get steroids out. We want to make sure these guys are not popping their bodies full of somas and muscle relaxers and, pain pills. And that was a big issue with Kurt Angle, his falling out with a company. So there was a genuine effort to do some. Now, granted, this may be in the sense of a performance enhancing drug, which is, a different category. And there's a reason why he would maybe want to do that versus use something like that in a scripted, entertainment environment. But I think it's pretty relevant. I think it's incredibly relevant that was allowed to do this in the first place, to go fight in the UFC again. Granted, the WWE did get a kind of a return on it. They got to plug SummerSlam. They got to plug their video game. But you let the guy go off and do this, and then he gives you bad press. I think that's incredibly relevant. Don't you agree, or do you disagree with that? Well,
man, let me see. I'm trying to take the 6 of one, half a dozen of the other argument here. I'll first take the fans' perspective. Yes, this sucks. This jerk came in who's been gone for nearly, 4 or 5 years, apparently because his stomach wasn't working right. But now he can come back and he can beat the number 8 ranked heavyweight fighter in the world as if nothing else happened. And, now suddenly a week later or 2 weeks later, he's popped for taking something bad that he shouldn't have. And now everything that he's done is irrelevant. Yeah, I can see from a fan's perspective, this sucks. From MMA fan perspective, this sucks. Okay, MMA fan perspective.
Sure.
The other perspective I'm going to take is the one that I know very well because I've done it for so long, and that is capitalistic scumfuck. Okay? I've been a salesman most of my life. I've worked on commission most of my life. I'm really sorry. Dana White's going, tough shit, I got my money. Okay? Who cares?
He did.
Okay? He got popped. I got the biggest buy rate ever
of
all of my UFCs. Screw that.
He got close. He got close. He didn't quite set the record, but he got close.
He got darn near close. And you know what? It would have been a lot higher if his actual main event went through. But a guy who actually got did twice.
I think that's the other issue. Don't you think that's the other issue too? Is that they just got bought and they had two. I mean, granted, John was more of a full time. John Jones is more of a full time, but Brock was supposed to be the special attraction. He gets popped. John gets popped. There's kind of a, I found it to be the timing of this couldn't have been worse with this happening the night of the draft. I mean, it was already bad when it happened on Friday, but the weekend goes by, you kind of remember it. But to have it happen the night they're doing the draft, I just thought it was poor timing. So I would have been a little like, oh shit, if you were putting everything together. Now, granted, he was just a quick blip on the show tonight. He was a quick announcement for Raw. But we should, as we're talking about this, Douglas, we should go back to the board here.
Oh, the big board. The
big board. The last one we did was Alexa Bliss at pick 47. So let's refresh and see. Okay, there's some more. We got. Do you want to take the honors or should I?
Oh, go ahead and take those honors. I've got to refresh my list.
Pick 48 is where we left off at.
Pick 48. I know. I think the Ascension was the last.
We got all the way to Alexa Bliss. Pick 47.
Okay. Oh, there we go. Okay, here I am. Okay. After Alexa Bliss, let's see. Going to Raw is Braun Strowman, Bo Dallas, separately from the Social Outcasts, and the Shining Stars. God, yes.
Which are Primo and Epico, if you don't remember. I had some people literally just tweet into us. They forgot who that was.
Yeah, because they've only had like one or two matches, I think. SmackDown is getting Breezango. The next NXT participant who people are really going to have a cow about is Eva Marie.
Oh, boy.
And the Vaudevillains.
Nice.
So Eva Marie took up the slot for an NXT performer and not Bayley and Nakamura. Everyone chop off your dick and throw it out the window right now. Okay. Seriously, your life is over as you know it.
Oh, man, there's going to be some upset NXT fans tonight, possibly.
And they're announcing more as we speak. Right?
As we speak, I know I was going to check on that, too. I guess my other question is, how is this, I guess, looking at the list, how is this panning out if you're a tag team and you go to SmackDown, how is this panning out for you? How is this looking? There's a lot more tag, there's the Ascension, there's the Vaudevillains, there's Breezango, is that how you pronounce that?
Yeah, Breezango.
Whatever.
The
Usos. So, there are going to be, so it's pretty clear they're going to have to do some kind of a SmackDown tag team title. I guess are you afraid we're heading back to it's time to have titles on both brands again where it was
not at all. I can find ways to get around this. There's nothing wrong with having the tag titles on one show and you defend the titles on that show, but then over on SmackDown they can have their little tournaments or whatnot and they can figure out, hey, here's our contenders for the tag titles that are on the other show that we're going to have on a WWE Network special. You can do that. You can find ways to have fun with the tag teams. That's just my armchair, spontaneous booking right there. If you want to take it that way, it's going to be way more difficult when it comes to women. That's where it's going to be really difficult. But easier for the tag teams, I think. The biggest concern I have right now, and just by seeing out of the corner of my eye what's being drafted,
Curtis Axel.
Curtis Axel always concerns me, But the biggest thing that concerns me right now, and it seemed to be a big problem 2 years ago with a specific talent, and those were the ones involved with the Wyatt family. They have right now basically split up the Wyatt family.
They have split up the Wyatt family. By the way, Carmella from NXT going to SmackDown, as you say that.
Yeah. And then that's your final NXT pick right there.
Yep. Oh boy, there's going to be some tears rolling down the face tonight with
boy.
But do they really want those? I guess here's the other thing though. Do they really want these people? Do they want NXT to be just completely bled dry?
No, not at all. Because it's not really bled dry. Because again, whoever they don't pick, they can go ahead and just ship them.
Pretty much.
It's no big deal. There are plenty of performers that we have not seen on television in a very long time that would fit perfectly over on NXT. I'm surprised. I thought Mark Henry would not have been picked, and he would go to NXT. That would be a great fit for him.
It was starting to get a little goofy too with some of the picks. Like it had like SmackDown had kind of like a fresh feeling to it, and then they'd say, "And Raw takes the Big Show," and there was this kind of a weird kind of, I don't know. There was a weird vibe at times. So I don't know. We'll see.
We took the New Day, the New Day, and then we took the 20-year veteran, as Mick Foley was describing that. We took the 20-year veteran. It's like Dad saying, "Come on, kids, we're going out to eat," and you go to McDonald's.
It's hilarious. So yeah, it looks like Bayley's going undrafted, but I kind of thought that was what the case was going to be. I thought she was going to be the mystery chick for Sasha Banks and Charlotte and Dana Brooke.
I can't believe I watched this crap.
How dare you? Let's bring somebody in here, Douglas. This gentleman covers Raw for us, and he also covered SmackDown for us tonight. Mike Tedesco. Mikey, how are you, sir? Are you there? I can't hear Mike.
Why can't you?
I am here.
Oh, there you go. There was a weird.
Hey, can you hear me now?
I can hear you now. Did you mute the mic or something, or what's going on?
I didn't do shit. I don't even know what I'm doing here.
How dare you, sir? So we're going over the post SmackDown draft picks, and there's a bunch of. We were just talking about how maybe it wasn't the best idea to want to bleed NXT dry, because all these people were like NXT, but I think they got some pretty good picks from NXT, and there's going to be some good support down there. But I didn't want them to just completely bleed that place dry. I know probably even the people that do get drafted to like Raw and SmackDown, I'm sure they'll stick around maybe for the next TakeOver special. But you were more so covering the televised version of the draft. Were you covering Raw for us or was that Dave Stevens when the last draft that they had?
I think that was Dave. If I'm not
Okay.
mistaken. This is my first draft I've ever covered for sure. But I remember I did the post on the supplemental draft picks, so I got to tell everybody where the fucking Heath Slater was going, and everybody was really excited. It was a big post for Wrestleview, I know that.
So, what did you think about first of all, this is probably a nice change of pace to cover a 2-hour live show instead of a 3-hour live show.
You know, I was actually just talking to Victoria about that, just saying like 2 hours is the perfect time for a wrestling show. I was look at this. We had the same main event as last night, and look at the difference between the crowd reactions. You have, a 3-hour show. They had to sit through 2.5 hours of mostly filler. There was an exciting thing in the beginning of the show with announcing Daniel Bryan and Mick Foley, but by after 2.5 hours of filler and segments that just go way too long, the crowd was totally dead for a WWE Championship match, which is unusual because I thought they built it really well. Dean Ambrose had this amazing promo last week with Seth Rollins in the ring, and they did a really good job building it up, and the crowd kind of just poo-pooed on it. Well, maybe they sensed the BS finish coming from a mile away. I don't know, but that's quite possible. But they were dead. But now you look at the show tonight, where they only had to sit through an hour and a half of stuff, and you can still muster the energy. You're not totally drained from sitting through all this wrestling, and they responded in kind. It was a good match, and it was made better because the crowd reaction was there for them.
I have to ask you too. They did like I don't know if it was really, maybe it was an experiment to see the crossover appeal, but they did the Rollins Ambrose title match last night on Raw, but they left the finish kind of up in the air, and they bled that over into the network. But it was weird because and it wasn't your fault or anything like that. You were covering the live TV version, and when the live TV version ended, Seth Rollins was the WWE champion. He was announced as the WWE champion.
Right.
And you had to then rush to the network to find out that no, he's not. It was a draw, and Ambrose is actually the champion. What did you think about the decision to do that?
Well, here's the thing. If they had announced on television that, hey, go over to WWE Network and check out to see what the heck's going to happen here because there's all this confusion, they didn't do that. I didn't find out that this thing happened on the WWE Network until like 2 p.m. today.
Seriously.
They did an awful, horrible job of. They didn't promote it at all, so I can't even say they promoted it. It was just so bizarre that they would have this giant decision hanging over the WWE Championship, that should get people interested, or at the very least interested to see a rematch for tomorrow. So they should say, go over to the WWE Network, check it out. Nothing.
So you're not a fan of the let's try to get some stragglers over to the network, possibly.
I think it's very important to get people over to the network. As many people subscribing as they possibly can.
But just maybe not that way. Just maybe.
Not that, yeah, I guess not this way. I guess the WWE Championship isn't important enough for that.
Exactly.
So I just saw Heath Slater on my TV doing something just ridiculous.
I see him. He's sitting they turn the lights off in a room. Is that because he's not been drafted yet? Is that what?
I think so.
Yeah, he has not been drafted.
That's wonderful.
God, look at how good looking Doug is. Jesus Christ! Look at this fucking guy.
Look at that. You're getting compliments from Mr. Tedesco. I asked this question to Doug, and I can't remember. I'm blanking already, Doug. I was asking any surprises from the draft. Mine was the Nia Jax one. What was yours, Doug? There was a name you tossed out, and it's blanking on me. The one that they picked that you were like, I don't know about that. I can't remember now, Doug. Apparently not. We'll move on from my terrible memory. Doug's just sitting there like, I don't remember either. He's giving me the
Alexa Bliss.
It may have been Alexa Bliss. I'm not sure. Oh, we may have lost Douglas. That's probably why. So we'll get Doug back in here. What was yours? Was there anyone during the televised? I know we'll get to the stuff they're doing now. But was there anybody during the televised show that you were like, I don't know about that one?
I'm trying to think. Probably Del Rio. I was like, Natalia.
Natalia, okay. Sure. And she went to SmackDown, right? Or Raw? I can't remember.
Yes, she went to SmackDown so we can continue that feud with Becky Lynch. That every time they fight on TV, I always go, oh yeah, I forgot about that.
Oh yeah, that's a thing.
It's very, very important. Very important to make sure that's settled.
That's a thing still, apparently.
Actually, what really a lot of questions came into my head as I was watching the draft special, because there is so much about this that they still haven't explained.
Oh, now I'm losing. Now I lost Mike. Skype does not like two participants apparently at the same time. So let's get Douglas back in here and see if we can get. Hi, Doug.
Oh, hi.
I don't know what happened. You had to flip your video back on for me. We lost Mike and we lost you all at the same time. So.
Yeah, basically, Skype said, I'll tell you what I think about Heath Slater.
I'm going to say do audio only, Mike. He tried to flip I think when he flipped his webcam on, it went crazy on us. So
yeah, that's what happened. Mike turned his webcam on, wanted to show how pretty he was, and just annihilated our entire show.
So here, let me kill this one. Let's add Mikey to this. And we'll get Mike back on. He was talking about Natalia being kind of like a what pick for him in terms of somebody that I don't know, somebody that was a little surprising, I guess. And Natalia strikes me as somebody that could go anywhere. Is that mean to say? Is that rude? maybe it's a little rude. I don't know.
No, not at all.
Okay.
No.
She just
anything that I think about Natalia, any bad thing that I have to say about her, I believe is completely warranted. She's horrible.
She's she's been a little. I will admit she's been a little bit better, just a little bit better, but not by.
Convince me. Sell me.
She's been better in the ring. She's been. The promo stuff, I've been a little more impressed with her. Just as a whole, I've been more impressed with her. I don't know. There's just something about her. I don't know. I feel like there's a different vibe with Natalia than I have had before. So I'm having a hell of a time trying to get people grouped called in here for some reason. So we might have to bail on the phone calls.
Yeah,
I'm going to bring Mike in right now this way and see if this works. But we'll.
Yeah, try that.
Okay, Mike, there we go. Sorry about that, buddy.
Oh, yes, there we go.
It's the video that just blew up when we were all on a Skype call together. So Trey was telling me earlier, like a couple months ago, how much Skype stinks. So I might have to take his word for it because it just doesn't want to participate sometimes. It just blows up on you. So let's get back to what you were talking. Natalia being a surprise. Doug was just trying to get me to convince him that I think she's been improving a little bit because for a while there she just seemed to kind of float around the roster. But I do think she seems to serve a better. Maybe it was the heel stuff she was doing lately because maybe I was getting bored of the babyface stuff. I don't know, but she seems like she's been making some progress. Maybe I'm full of it though. Who knows?
You might be a little full of it. I have never seen anything out of Natalia that's been called progress. I think she's a typical person who's like one of those indie darlings that's like, oh, I can wrestle and put on this amazing match, and look, I can do it with anybody. But meanwhile, she's facing girls that, like a Summer Rae, who came out of lingerie football league, who's not really like, who cannot be a good base for her. So when she's trying to do all this fancy stuff, Summer Rae can't keep up. So in her trying to show off, she's making not only her opponent look bad, she's making herself look bad. She's just like one of those people that just kind of exists for me and is very wooden expressions, and I'm not really into Italian. But my point that I was going to make before we got cut off by Microsoft Skype, because it sucks, is there is so much about this draft that they still haven't explained yet. Particularly why would SmackDown draft any tag teams or any women if the tag team champions are on Raw?
There's a lot of questions. There's Ambrose heading to SmackDown as champion, so what does Raw get then? So we're almost going back to the same scenario we had in 2002 when Brock Lesnar was being courted and got pulled to SmackDown, and then Eric Bischoff walked out with a briefcase with the old WCW World Title in and just hands it to Triple H. So maybe we'll get a similar situation. I'm not quite sure what they're going to do, but there's a lot of questions. Way too many questions, actually.
I know, and it's just so bizarre that we've gotten this far. Now we're actually here at the draft, and I don't think WWE even knows what the hell they're going to do yet. I've heard the rumors about having 2 world titles, which never ever made any sense to me, because one title's got to be more important than the other, and last time I checked, there's only one world that we're living on, so how can you have 2 champions of a world? Whatever. And, this women's title, there isn't a big enough division of women if you even combine every woman from the NXT roster to merit having 2 separate women's divisions. So does the women's champion become a floating champion who kind of just goes to both shows and defends?
That's a very genuine possibility. Maybe the champions float kind of like the old territory days. And
that would be freaking awesome if they did that, because I remember when they started the draft in 2002, I remember, particularly when it was Undertaker, I remember one week he had a ladder match against Jeff Hardy for the title, and then that very same week he fought Kurt Angle for the WWE title, and both were just really, really great matches. And they were just starting to get rolling with this dual champion thing, and the champion shows up on both shows, and then they kind of 86'd it in favor of having Lesnar, and as the one champion and Triple H as the other. I'm kind of hoping, because if they do have the 2 champions, there really won't be much separating this brand extension from the last one. And we characterized the last one pretty much as a complete failure, because it killed ratings, it killed house show attendance, it killed regular attendance, and really it just hurt the product overall.
So maybe
they need to change something. Something needs to give here.
So could this be foolish thinking that this is going to just fix all the issues with television not being, at least in my opinion? I mean, you're covering the show every week, Raw, that is. I've found it to be a very hard show to sit down and watch every week. It's a YouTube highlight. I've been watching the 2-hour version on Hulu. I find it easier to watch it that way than sit down and watch it live. But I don't know.
Absolutely, and just watching SmackDown tonight, Victoria was commenting with me. She watched the whole show. She goes, "I can't believe it. This is the first show that I've watched in months that I haven't fallen asleep during."
Yeah,
she hasn't made it through a Raw probably since February.
And you can't do this every week. That's the hard thing. You can't have a big, hoopla around. Hey, this was a great way to premiere SmackDown Live, and I do love the idea of a Monday to a Tuesday, because that's always been something that wrestling fans have kind of wanted. They will do the occasional live SmackDown, but to have it now marked in place on Tuesdays, I think that is a very, very good idea. I think that's going to keep it fresh. The live environment's going to keep it fresh. I like mixing up the talents. We kind of roughly have an idea where they're going to go pay-per-view wise for the rest of the year, because a lot of the schedule leaked from now till December. But I guess before we let you go, do you think this was a step in the right direction tonight for not only the Raw brand that you're going to be primarily covering? I know you'll help out with SmackDown with me sometimes until Alex can come back. But would you think it was a good step in the right direction tonight for the company?
I'm going to tell you the truth, and I don't want to sound like I'm a complainer or somebody who's bitter or anything like that, but I don't think that this is the answer. I thought, watching Raw last night, I was thinking, God, they have a full roster. What is it going to be like next week when it's Stephanie and Roman Reigns at the head of the show? and half of a roster that they had for 3 hours. I think that's just brutal what they've just done to their roster. I think it's very short-sighted. It's not very well planned out because we still have all these questions that we just mentioned just now. They're their problem is a product interest and ratings and all these things that you use to gauge just how people are liking wrestling. Everything's down: ratings, attendance, merchandise. The only thing that's really kind of thriving is the WWE Network. They're kind of surviving off of that. But
even when ratings have kind of plummeted, though, it's interesting because like cable television ratings in general, unless it's like a sporting event or a major event, stink. I mean, people are like, I cut the cord this year. I know a ton of people that have cut the cord or are about to cut the cord. So
yeah, I'm definitely one of them. It's a different world,
and I know that's a measuring stick, so we can't ignore the TV ratings. But
no, you can't. But you know what? Okay, forget TV ratings. Just listen to the crowd. Listen to the crowd.
They sounded pretty loud tonight.
And look at the crowd that shows up. They haven't sold out a Raw since WrestleMania season. Raws used to be a guaranteed sellout every week. Now they can't fill an arena anymore with what they're doing. House show attendance is down to really low, 1,000, 2,000 people showing up. That's just the product interest is just ground level, and they're kind of doubling down every time something bad happens. They double down on the bad decisions that they've made in the past. They think that this show doesn't need less McMahons, it needs more McMahons. We've had the same storyline essentially with a McMahon in power for almost 20 years.
Yeah,
it worked in 1998, in 1997, 1998 when Vince did the screw job thing and was going with Steve Austin because he needed to, because WCW was picking everybody up, and the one heel talent that won't go to WCW that can face Steve Austin consistently is who else? Vince McMahon. That was a great idea. It was a stroke of genius. It worked. It took wrestling to new heights that it's never before seen and will never see again, probably, in my opinion. But now it's a very, very tired, old, dated concept, the concept of a heel authority figure, and really basically just any McMahon in general. Because, look what they're doing with Stephanie. She's put over every single talent. She's taken heat from face and heel alike, and she gets no payback. She had the one Spirit WrestleMania, but that's all forgotten about. So she's just back to just,
it's all forgotten. Yeah, it's all forgotten. Yeah, and that's the frustration. Exactly. It's a major frustration with the TV shows, especially with me. But I'm kind of with you. I'm not sure. I want to kind of take a wait and see approach. I don't want to kill it after just an hour or two at finishing. So I'd like to see what we get. But yeah, I don't know. Well,
my concern is just that they're doubling down. They think that more content is the answer when when less people than ever are watching. They think that there needs to be more show.
Yeah.
Now we're going to have 2 pay-per-views a month. The pay-per-views are the big selling point of the network, but if you just make them like they're any other show, that can affect the network in a very big way. If people think, I don't need to watch this show, I don't need to watch that show, I can kind of lapse my WWE Network from September to November because there's just nothing going on. These are just regular in-your-house shows that nobody used to watch either.
I don't know,
nobody used to watch the in-your-house shows.
That's a tough strategy to go with. So we'll
and you're asking your whatever few fans that you have left. Now you're asking them to commit 3 hours on Monday night
and
2 hours on Tuesday, and on pay-per-view weeks, and they're going to be twice a week, an extra 3 to 4 hours because they're extending the pay-per-views to almost 4 hours long now. Money in the Bank was an albatross of a show because it was so freaking long. That was unbelievable. So you're asking people to donate 10 hours of their week in order to be a fan. That's ridiculous.
The more people cut the cord and the more content they put out on YouTube and Facebook and Twitter, I don't think it's going to happen. Mike, we have a hard out because Facebook cuts us off after an hour and a half, so I got to let you go. But at Mike Tedesco WV on the Twitter, correct? That's the right handle?
That's it.
And you cover Raw for us every Monday night. You covered SmackDown for us tonight. I'll be stepping in to help you out with SmackDown because I know we don't want you covering 2 shows like that twice a week. That would be terrible for us. So we'll figure out a schedule before Alex can, because Alex has been doing a great job for us on Wrestleview covering SmackDown. He just had some scheduling issues, so we definitely wanted to make sure that the show was getting covered live. It was just a little hard for him. But thanks for joining us, Mike. And check out Mike's Raw recaps every Monday. And you brought the Raw review back this week as well. So that's up on the the website. And are you doing a SmackDown review too, or just Raw?
I will be doing a SmackDown review, and I might, if SmackDown 2 hours and they actually seem like they're putting some effort into it, I might have to trade Alex for Raw. I think.
Ooh, okay.
We'll see. We'll see.
It
was so pleasant to watch the show tonight. Really pleasant.
All right, Mike. Thanks, man. We appreciate it.
All right. Take care, guys.
There we go. There's Mike Tedesco, or Mike Tabasco, as we like to call him. Douglas, do you want to take a look at the? Let's take a look at the board. Let's see.
Let's look at the big board.
Wait, they did finalize. I think we did get Carmella in there, but do we want to go? We've pretty much covered everything up to Braun Strowman. Do you want to go over from Braun Strowman down, because we actually you did all the way to the Shining Stars, so there's a couple more we missed.
I did all the way up to like the Vaudevillains.
Okay, so do you want to take it from there?
I will bring it up now.
That's pick 54 through 60.
I will go to live results right now. I think I saw people having an epic out because they thought Mojo Riley was drafted.
He was.
Oh, he was. Well, I don't know if he was, because I see is the round 10 draft picks, and that's the Vaudevillains, and that would be 60 picks.
Well, actually, according to Jason's, Vaudevillains were 53. 54 was Alicia Fox going to Raw.
Okay, I haven't seen that.
Eric Rowan is 55 going to SmackDown. Dana Brooke is 56 going to Raw. So she's actually being separated from Charlotte, because I think... Oh, wait, no, Charlotte's staying on Raw. Never mind, I'm an idiot.
Yeah, Charlotte's on Raw.
I'm an idiot. Don't listen to me. 57 is Mojo Rawley from NXT going to SmackDown.
Oh, there it is. Okay.
58 is Curtis Axel going to Raw, and 59, the last pick, is Carmella from NXT going to SmackDown. So I guess we thought there was going to be 60, but I guess it ended at 59, according to Jason's report there. So there. So what do you think? Anything in there that kind of caught your eye, or you thought was surprising, interesting, nothing, or just
Mojo Rawley is going to be bad.
You're not a Mojo fan.
Oh, this is going to hurt. It's going to sting. Oh boy.
Why is that? Elaborate.
I have no faith in him whatsoever.
Why is that?
I don't know what it is. When I see him on NXT in any match he's in, I mean, I don't think there's any amount of Schedule 3 substance, Ritalin, Adderall, you name it, that can actually make any match that he has worthwhile to watch. I'm afraid he's going to hurt somebody.
Really?
In there. I really am. I mean, I don't know. I really don't know. I hope it's changed somewhat, but man, I don't know. That's just me. Eric Rowan is another one I'm concerned about, because they tried this before, putting him in singles, and it was bad. But at the same time, they tried to make him a face, and that was even worse. They keep him a heel, and don't have him say anything. Also, keep him silent. But everything looks fine to me. I need more sad Heath Slater in my life. He needs to head over to NXT and just be pissed that he's at NXT. Okay. But apart from that, I mean, draft looks fine to me. I'm just curious to see how everything pans out. I mean, I am not as, holy crap, we can't watch this. We can't watch. Oh, no, you're giving us more stuff to watch. What am I going to do with this? It's not exactly a turnoff to be given a lot of stuff, and it's great to have a decision to watch what you would like to watch, If that turns you off that you're given too many things, grocery stores must suck for you. So, I don't know. That's just me.
Well, that was kind of the point of the first draft, was to create competition between the brands, where I always remember Shawn Michaels saying that he had he had fans telling him that they only watched Raw and they didn't watch SmackDown, or they only watched SmackDown and they didn't watch Raw. Now, granted, that was a little different. Raw was on cable, SmackDown was on broadcast. So technically there were more opportunities, and SmackDown was in more homes technically than Raw was, or at least had the ability. It didn't mean at points it did actually have more overall viewers, but that was the original intent of the first draft. And it sure seemed like when they went over I'm trying to remember the process of when they did the description of the first reveal, like the press release and stuff, they were emphasizing that they were going to have competition with television ratings. You can't really do it with pay-per-view buys because of the network now, but maybe like attendance, maybe merchandising. a whole variety of different things. So we'll see how it turns out. But I'm curious to see if this helps or not. I don't know if this is putting a Band-Aid over a very large wound. I don't know. I guess maybe we shouldn't be given the impression that the WWE is hurting extremely bad. Because I don't know if that's necessarily true or not. I don't know if you would agree with that or not, Doug, but they're not hurting from a revenue standpoint, but I think creatively they're kind of struggling. Not kind of, very. I think
they're burnt out.
They're completely burnt out.
They are incredibly burnt out. And what's worse is that all they were writing for was a 3-hour TV show with a pay-per-view and an auxiliary 2-hour program to piggyback off of it. They're burnt out just from one show alone. That's what's horrible. And they felt like they had nothing to work with everything encapsulating around this one 3-hour show that puts people to sleep. But how are you going to turn them to SmackDown when it's just piggybacking off of the 3-hour show that no one could stay awake for? And how are you going to have people watch your pay-per-view when, again, you got to set aside time to go watch that, and it's all based around the TV show that made people fall asleep?
Isaac asked in the chat room, Doug, on a Rusev love scale, where does Mauro Ranallo rank for you as a commentator? Because I saw you tweeted something about him tonight.
Mauro, his voice just rings in my head. He's a cherub. He's just a cherub is what he is. I mean, I was waiting to hear that he was drafted to Raw.
That was something Steve just brought up in the chat. He goes, why were no announcers or commentary people?
You don't do that right now. You do
probably
that
not. Yeah.
You do that. They started doing that, in the second or third draft, when they split up JR and King. You don't do that right off the bat. But holy hell, is Mauro just a breath of fresh air to listen to on a show like this. I think if there's any other reason why SmackDown is going to become more popular, it's because of him. Okay, he does a fantastic job.
Good.
This guy makes toasting a Pop-Tart sound epic. Okay.
Well, I think that was the one thing I noticed the very first SmackDown show that he did. He had and I've been used to listening to Mauro through mixed martial arts, through Pride, through Strike Force, through a multitude of MMA events that he would call. Up until when he started calling New Japan Pro Wrestling on Access TV with Josh Barnett. They were great together. So I was used to hearing him in the combat sports environment kind of a thing. But it was very apparent very quickly. Not that I think Michael Cole is bad at what he does, but there was that sense of emotion that Jim Ross used to have, where Jim Ross would almost be like arguing the point of the viewer, but not sounding scripted when he did it. He just sounded very casual, very unique, very convincing. And Mauro has that. He has that kind of just talking about what's happening. You believe the emotion that comes out of him. He makes things feel important. Whereas Michael Cole's kind of just very observation heavy. Not to say that Cole stinks, because Cole, there are times where he just nails something perfect when it comes to describing a situation or trying to get something over. But Mauro's awesome. So I'm curious how much longer. I mean, I think he needs to be on SmackDown for a while. Yeah. But it could be something that he needs a better second fiddle than King, who just feels incredibly out of place right now. I mean, let's go and face facts. I mean, Lawler has absolutely no idea how to go alongside Mauro, because he's trying to do jokey one-liners, but he's also trying to bring back that heel commentator that he used to be. But Mauro is not the babyface commentator. Lawler is just in his own little world with things happening, and Mauro is there to actually tell us what's happening. Oh yeah, absolutely, totally.
So something needs to change along those lines. Bring a new second fiddle in for Mauro. That is someone that Byron Saxton would work well with. Is Mauro? Those two would work great together. Just have those two and JBL and Cole together for Raw. But right now, Lawler, he's in limbo somewhere.
But he's heel Lawler, so it's kind of a little old schoolish. I don't know.
Well, I mean, there's nothing wrong with heel Lawler, but you got to have a face to go alongside with it. I mean, you got to have someone to argue with.
Okay, I see what you're saying.
He's not arguing with Mauro. Mauro is telling us what's happening. He's not really telling a story. He's actually saying what's happening in the match. and describing what's happening in the match. He's not, he's a great guy, and Lawler's like, no, he's a jerk. That's not happening.
Yeah, that's not so much. It's kind of like Corey Graves does a little bit better, I think, in NXT than maybe Lawler's doing at the moment. A little more of a modern approach is Corey Graves on NXT. He's somebody that, Jesus, man, if they don't get him up on one of those rosters soon, they're wasting talent. Not to say that they're wasting him in NXT. He's great in NXT, but holy shit, dude. Corey is turned into a really, really good commentator guy. Really quick, because I know we have to start kind of getting things wrapped up here, I want to turn the attention to a tweet that Jason Amico put out about Heath Slater. We were just talking about this before. It literally says, undrafted Heath Slater. That's all it says. So that was why they ended the broadcast with him in the room with the lights going off, and he was upset. I also want to turn attention to the poll again, and 37% giving the draft tonight a thumbs down, 35% in the middle, and 28% thumbs up. So it's not the most positive. Now, granted, that's just our poll, so it's not the most scientific poll in the world. It's not a political poll by any means, so it's just
a hell of a lot more scientific than other wrestling sites.
Exactly.
I'll give you that much.
If you're watching the screen, I accidentally gave a surprise away. We have a surprise caller. We have the Trey Dawg. Brother Trey, I knew you'd come. Are you there, sir?
You can't delete me, you son of a bitch. No, delete!
I gave it away. I accidentally put the Skype thing up on the screen, and it showed your little avatar up there. So I gave it away. I screwed it up, Trey. Sorry.
It's all right. It's all good.
It happens.
I've been listening since the beginning. I watched the draft, and to go on Doug's point about Morrow and Lawler, it's like having an 8-track cassette in a Ferrari. It just doesn't work. I agree. Corey Graves should be the guy. I think that guy would be perfect. Earlier in you guys' broadcast, Doug had asked why it was so tepid with Sasha and what was to blame. And I think it was her injury. The fact that she got hurt when she did, was off TV as long as she was off. That was a big part of it. This draft was weird to me. Here's the deal. I think the build-up and the hype for the draft overshadowed what happened tonight. It was like a big blockbuster movie that you couldn't wait to go see on opening day, and then you went and you walked out going, what the fuck did I just watch? And I think you guys were talking to Mike, and you asked him if it was what the company needed to do or if it was the right move. I think it was the right idea. I just think it was very bad execution. It just little things, and it's a lot. It's not any one big person that got drafted out of where they should have been, really. But to me, it's like it's a ton of little things. One that comes off to me, and it's a little thing because she hasn't even been up with the guys to begin with on the main roster. But putting Carmella on SmackDown and Enzo and Cass on Raw, that's. And don't take this the wrong way, but I mean, it's shitting on everything they've built to get to that point. That was a big payoff. I was waiting to see her come down to the ring with them one night, see how they were going to tie that together. Now we won't see that. So I guess we're supposed to forget that they were ever together. They need to make up their mind on the club. They were together when they got here, then they weren't together, and then they were back together, and then they were not together, and now they're back together to fight John Cena, and now they're not together. And AJ's on SmackDown, and Gallows and Anderson are on Raw, which, I mean, they're with Finn Balor. Is he going to take over for AJ on with the club? Or are they just going to kill the club altogether and pretend like there's no tie there? And again, it's just a lot of little things. It goes back for me to last night. And Adam, you and I talked about this today. You've got Stephanie McMahon, who's the heel. She's the bad guy. At least she's supposed to be. By putting her in charge of Raw, that instantly makes Raw the bad guy. It's the big ratings giant. It's the juggernaut. It's the bully, if you will. SmackDown has Shane O'Mac, who everybody loves to cheer right now, who I think is doing a great job as the babyface good guy with power. You put him on SmackDown, he's the little engine that could. He's the new upstart, the new era, the guy that brought in all the NXT stars to begin with when he got here. The guy that's not even supposed to be there because of the WrestleMania loss. He's the little engine that could. You team him up with a guy like Daniel Bryan, what do we get now? Now you get a general manager and a commissioner who are going to be so busy kissing each other's ass about how great one another is. Where's the drama? Where's the storyline? I don't want to see 2 hours of you're the best. No, you're the best. You've got Stephanie, who again is supposed to be the bad guy, with Mick Foley, who is just a big babyface in the company. You know, how's that going to work? The thing I thought of, and like I told Adam today, I know people are gonna shit on this idea, and that's fine. But Stephanie needed a guy like a Bischoff. Stephanie needed a bad guy, so that you don't want to see Raw succeed. Raw's gonna be fine. 3 hours or not, people are still gonna watch that show because you have been trained to watch wrestling on Monday nights since you started watching wrestling. All of you that can hear my voice. You still, even if you admit openly and out loud like I do often, that you're not a huge fan of Monday Night Raw. There's something inside you like that little kid on Christmas Eve that still looks forward to what's going to happen when Raw starts later that night, every Monday. You can sit there till you're blue in the face, argue with yourself and myself, and tell me that you don't, but you do. Somewhere deep inside you, you look forward to either hating what you're going to see later or enjoying what you're going to see later.
Or you don't watch live.
Or you don't watch live. But if you don't watch live, then I'm not talking to you.
Yeah.
Because you're a non-factor now.
Yeah.
So, basically, Vince comes out and announces that these are the two commissioners, Stephanie for Raw, Shane for SmackDown, which, again, commissioner is a stupid word because the general manager should be the one in charge. The commissioner should work for the general manager, not the other way around. And I'm not real sure how that ever got twisted, but it did. Neither here nor there. Stephanie needed a heel GM. Okay? Now, what Vince should have done was come out after all the hoopla with Daniel Bryan and say, okay, you guys don't want to have the bad blood and the violence and the back and forth and the cutthroat. One of you has to beat the other one that I want. Swap general managers. Now you've got a dynamic where somebody's working for somebody they don't want to work for, and somebody's in charge of somebody that they wouldn't have hired. Then it makes it interesting. Because what's going on right now, although in principle is a great idea, how are they going to make this work?
Yeah, it seems. I think we kind of addressed this a little bit, Doug, of when we were on doing the test show last night, of just like the dichotomy of. I know they're still inherently doing Shane versus Stephanie, and I know they're trying to kind of create something there with Mick Foley and Daniel Bryan, but Trey was kind of illustrating that. I don't know, and maybe that's a non-factor, and maybe we need to be focusing more on the talent pools that they built out tonight, because they did build a pretty. And I was reading some of the feedback as we're doing the Facebook Live. Dustin Francis was saying that Raw has the Cruiserweight division, SmackDown has nothing unique. My problem with the draft is that SmackDown was kind of almost screwed. That he feels they have a weaker roster. I'm looking at the SmackDown roster. I don't know if it's that weak, though. I mean, they got Ambrose, they got Styles, they got Cena, they got Bray Wyatt, they got Randy Orton, and when he's healthy, they got a healthy crop of NXT guys like American Alpha and Baron Corbin. Del Rio's still a good hand. You got Ziggler. You got Ziggler. You got Alexa Bliss, Mojo Rawley, and Carmella from NXT coming in. Maybe from looking back, maybe, but Raw seems. I mean, you got Rollins, you got Finn. Yeah, that's a good pick. You got Reigns. Brock's not going to be there all the time. You're going to have the cruiserweights on Raw, so that's something to look forward to with some people. You have a deeper tag team division on Raw than SmackDown, but I kind of feel like SmackDown feels like the fresher show. I don't know. And by the way, Tom bringing up, what about trades? Trades could be coming because they've done those before where they've done roster trades. So we don't know for sure if that's going to be the case or not. But I don't know. I mean, Doug, I don't know where you sit on that of just looking at the GM situation, the commissioners, or even looking at what we went through tonight. I kind of feel like SmackDown has the fresher roster than Raw. And I think SmackDown came out a lot better than Raw.
I look at the two rosters, and I look at I guess you could say the people manning the switches and the person nudging the other one on the shoulder who is manning the switches. Hey, pull that one. If you look at everyone involved, if I look at the SmackDown roster, the programs that we are going to see on SmackDown, you are hardly going to see Shane McMahon and Daniel Bryan involved in anything. They are not the focal point of this show. The focal point of this show are the people that they brought in. Namely, you've got the world champion and you've got an intercontinental champion there. That's who you have in there right now. And basically all of the people that are on that roster, aside from women and aside from tag teams, everyone that they've brought into the SmackDown roster, you can make programs easily for. You can easily write for this show. It's incredibly simple. You cannot F this up, but WWE will F it up. That's what we're used to. When you look at Raw, I'm looking at everyone that's over on there. First off, it's going to be nothing but the Steph McFoley show. That's all it's going to be. I don't see anything else different happening there. That is going to be the constant program happening. And I look at the roster. You've got, like you said, tons of tag teams. The cruiserweights are going to be there. All the women are going to be there. You have all of that stuff happening, but the problem is that seems to be all happening in the periphery of the big thing between Foley and McMahon. Mm-hmm. That just seems like what it looks. That's what it looks like to me. And so that's kind of why I prefaced before that SmackDown is going to be your traditional wrestling show. Programs, storylines involved in stuff that comes to a climax inside the ring. You know, telling stories, having resolution, conflict, everything right there. Raw, stuff is going to be happening, but we have no idea why. All that we really think it'll be for are for belts, and that's about it. Okay, and what's happening in the side is Foley saying, no, I'm a good guy, Stephanie saying I'm a bad girl, and no one gets along in the boardroom, but you never see it, or it could be reflected out into the ring, and that just sounds stupid because we've seen it time and time and time and time again. So if I sat here and I looked at this draft, I watch everything, and I'm going to tell myself, all right, I'm going to invest in a show to watch, and I'm going to DVR the other one. They're both going to be live. What am I going to get the more bang for my buck? I'm going to watch SmackDown.
Yeah, SmackDown.
Because for number one, I know I can stay awake for it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and number two, it is going to be fresher. I mean, there are a lot more faces in there that are going to be going and having programs with people they haven't had before. And what's better is that you have the mainstays like Cena and Orton to kind of back it up. They could, dear Lord, it's about time we have Randy Orton coming back and have him looking like an old fart going up against some of the others that are going to be on that show. You know, again, that's what I'm taking from this. Raw can take a powder for all I'm concerned. And people who are really interested in Raw are going to be the ones, honestly, they're more concerned about the cruiserweights that they haven't even really seen yet. Okay, we don't even know, and they can't emote. They only care about the moves. So,
little critters.
And I said this before when we did our test run. Monday Night Raw to me is going to have more of a Monday Nitro feel.
It certainly does.
You know,
more
everything's going to be
characters.
happening in the periphery, never having any resolution in the ring, and stuff happening in the ring is just stuff.
Yeah,
you don't know
the little guys can't go for 3 hours though. I mean, that's
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I just don't know. I'm just baffled at because, okay, we know Brock's not going to be there full time, and whose fucking horrible idea was it to draft Roman Reigns and Brock back to back, the two drug fucking guys that have been busted most recently? Let's put them
I know
back
it was
to back in the same fucking pick segment. Somebody should have said, "Hey, let's don't do that."
Did you read the news today with Brock? Probably not good.
Yeah, it's just the little things like that I catch.
Yeah,
but I mean, let's say Brock is there. Let's say they, all drug issues aside and all the bullshit aside, Brock's there working a program. What's his fucking motivation for being there? There's not a world title there.
Yeah, that's gone.
And it's just like the tag teams that are on SmackDown. What are they working towards? Are they going to have how they're going to figure out a way, and it'll be, done through pay-per-view and done through network exclusive specials where they can get both brands on one show. But are they going to have like a number one contendership that everybody fights for the number one contendership so that at the pay-per-view they get the chance to go face the champion from the other show? What about the women that are on SmackDown?
Ryan just asked in the chat, where does Triple H fall into this scenario now? I mean, he's been off television.
Triple H is fucking Stephanie. That's all about it.
Well, yes.
He doesn't care. He doesn't.
Yeah.
But I mean, and that's Triple H is going to be a guy that down the road, when Foley and Stephanie and their feud comes to a head, Triple H is the guy that replaces Foley.
Okay.
I mean, I was shocked that he wasn't the guy she announced.
Yeah, I kind of thought they were going to do that too. The heel move there, to have him just walk out and smile and be like, "Done."
I'm keeping Triple H versus Shane McMahon in my back pocket.
Well, I mean, Triple H gets to come out and say, "I got rid of you once, Foley. I'm going to do it again."
Yeah. Well,
I gave you your walking papers as a wrestler, and I'm going to give them to you as a general manager.
I have to ask because I know we want to talk about a couple things, and we're running a little low on time. We have about 5 minutes, but what was I asked Doug and Mike this. What was the pick that kind of caught you off guard tonight? That kind of made you go like, I don't know about that one. Maybe either a good one or a bad one, maybe in your opinion.
On the television side of things, I would have to say either Sami Zayn or Big Show.
Okay.
I mean, I get it. Zayn's, Zayn. He does what he does, but he's a fast-forward match for me.
Really?
Big Show, it's like, it's like drafting a 44-year-old rookie in baseball. How long is he going to play?
The Big Show one felt deflating, but the Sami Zayn one, really? I think Sami Zayn has a ton of upside as a babyface.
I just
guy.
don't care for him, and that's just me personally.
Okay.
I mean, that's I mean, I have nothing against the guy, and hope he does well, but I just don't have any real interest in him. I think that would probably be the two.
Okay.
Off the top of my head, without having a whole lot of time to think about it. I do want to point one thing out, though. You guys were talking about earlier about Bayley and going undrafted. And even if she is Sasha's partner, which would be great Sunday, Bayley goes undrafted because NXT still has to sell tickets. Period. And they still have to have a reason for people to watch.
And they don't want to bleed it dry, so you got to be careful about that. You got to be mindful because it's gone from being a developmental show to an actual touring brand that sells tickets. So yeah,
people are invested in it, and she more than deserves to be called up and has earned it. But the problem with this is Bayley is a product of being too good at her job and too good at representing that brand.
No, you're right. That's a very good point. That's an excellent point.
That's exactly what's wrong with the Bayley thing. Now, she shows up Sunday as Sasha's partner. Maybe she works her way onto one of the shows somehow. Who knows?
Could be good.
But she deserves it. She should have been drafted. But by the same token, I understand why she wasn't. As far as picks that make me go, what the fuck, and why, the Eva Marie thing, obviously, from the post show. Okay. I'm like, what the hell?
I love Eva Marie. She's such a good heel. She's not phenomenal in the ring, but such a good heel presence. So it was a pretty unanimous thumbs down or thumbs in the middle from the poll we took on Wrestleview. So not a lot of people thrilled. Mike Tedesco was a little iffy on where they go from here. Before we kill this, because we're running a little low on time, I got a lot of questions last night, Trey. I know you did, about where we're going in terms of the Trey and Adam show. So we have about like a minute or two. So if you could elaborate on that a little bit before we get cut off, because I want people to hear this.
Well, basically, look at it this way. I mean, you've got the new Wrestleview Live, and that's going to be Doug and Adam's baby. Think of it as that's the dinner. That's the main course. When you get a Trey and Adam show, they're not going to be every week. They're not going to be, every 2 weeks. They're going to be when we feel like doing something or have something we want to get off our chest. Just think of it as the dessert. I mean, it's going to be something that we're just going to throw out there as added to what they do with Wrestleview Live. We will talk wrestling because it's inevitable. You can't have Adam and I on a show together without talking a little wrestling. Are we going to break it down deeply? No, we're not. Not like they're going to do on the Wrestleview Live portion of the show. We're going to talk about gaming. We're going to talk about movies. Whatever we want to talk about. And it doesn't have to be, we're going to do it in this amount of time. We're just going to turn on the microphones, turn on the cameras, roll it, go with it, and we'll let you know in advance when it's coming. And we're just going to have fun with it.
Yeah.
Because I've been doing this for so long that it's not fair for me to try to do a wrestling program because I don't watch it religiously. I will watch the big events, the draft, the pay-per-views. If I know some big match is coming, I'll watch it. Sometimes I won't even watch it for 2 or 3 days. So it's not fair for me to waste my time or yours trying to talk about it and break it down, because it's not what I'm into. It's not what I'm interested in anymore. It doesn't have my full attention, and that's not fair to anybody. So Adam and I are going to do what we want to do, just have fun with what we're doing, basically just have an outlet to hang out and bullshit. And if you guys want to listen, you can. If you don't, that's fine too.
It's going to be a little bit different vibe. It's going to be more of a video game, TV show vibe. So we'll be wrestling focused with, obviously, this show with Doug and myself. We'll have guests on occasionally. Tonight was a little guest heavy just because of, it was a big draft show. So we wanted to get that across, Trey, because there was a little confusion last night of where we were going with that. So
and if Adam and Doug are going to do a show following a big event, chances are I'll come on and bullshit with them.
There you go. Boom.
If I've seen it. If I haven't seen what they're going to be talking about, I'm not going to waste their time, mine or yours, trying to talk about it.
There we go.
So,
all right,
that's basically it.
We got to head out of here because there's a hard out with Facebook Live. But thanks everybody for tuning in live. Douglas, thank you for joining me and breaking down the draft. I appreciate it, sir. And we'll make plans for another one of these. I'm not sure what it'll be, but we'll figure something out. And I thought this was a good experiment. So, Doug, thank you very much.
I'm live to serve. I don't know if we're doing the battleground because I need to make my own flag.
Yeah, I don't know about that. We'll see.
Delete.
We'll delete. Thank you to Trey at Trey on the radio on the Twitter.
An extraordinary xylophone.
Doug was posting that today.
Brother Funky White Boy.
At Doug Wrestleview on the Twitter, at Trey on the radio, at Mike Tedesco WV, and I am at Adam Wrestleview. So thank you for tuning in live. We'll have the audio up on the Trey and Adam Show SoundCloud as well as the iTunes page, and we'll have the video here on the Wrestleview Facebook page and also on the Trey and Adam group. So we will talk to everybody very soon. Thanks, guys. Later.